I stay bout it, I'm not pouting. Break through walls and climb it mountains. If you want it, scream it louder. Show this world what they've been doubting. Never waiting on the world to catch up to me. Leave it in the rear view. I wish that it was up to me. The world would never fear new.
Okay, welcome back to the Braintainment podcast. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today's an exciting one. My guest is Dave Harvey, someone who I've gotten to know a bit over recent times, and someone who I look to, we're just chatting off air a little bit, for advice on all things training, nutrition, recovery, pretty much all things health and fitness. If you're not familiar with Dave, he was a professional rugby player for over a decade, if I'm not mistaken, playing in the Super Rugby for Western Force, among some other clubs around the world, which I'm sure he'll touch on in our chat today. He's also the owner of Castle Hill F45 Training and an athlete affiliate for a few different companies, including Whoop, again, which we're just talking about off air and we might get to today. He's a really quality guy and someone who I have complete trust in when it comes to all things health and fitness. So we've got him on the show for a bit today and we're going to dive into as much as we can. So with that said, welcome, Dave.
Thanks, mate. That's probably one of the best introductions I've ever had. That's fantastic.
Mate, I could keep going. I could have easily kept going, but I thought I'd keep it short and sharp.
I need that written down. I can pop that in the in the Facebook or Instagram or my business portfolio.
Mate, I'm happy to copy paste the intro and just flick it through for you if that helps.
Yeah, I love it, mate. I love it. How good.
Well, to kick things off, mate, just on the rugby front, look, admittedly, I'm an AFL guy. So my knowledge in the rugby side of things is a little bit ignorant. But that said, my old man growing up he played rugby growing up from Queensland and pretty much lives and breathed it. But could you perhaps give us the highlights reel of your career and maybe, I guess, what that looked like and what some of the best highlights were for you?
I guess I started playing rugby as a young kid. My mum was remarried and he was a rugby guy and threw me in the deep end probably about when I was about 8 or 9. So I grew up with a cricketing family. My grandfather played cricket for Australia. There's actually a statue of him in the MCG in Melbourne. Wow. Which was pretty cool. So I grew up in a cricketing family, but I kind of got too bored. I needed a sport that was condensed into 80, 90 maximum, hour and a half. So I just grew up playing juniors and played a year of rugby league, and then made the jump back to rugby and started pretty young. Probably club rugby debut, I guess, is a little bit different run compared to AFL, but club rugby debut, I was about 18, which was pretty cool. And then I kind of did things backwards. I moved to Europe before playing professionally in Australia. A lot of people play professionally here and then they jump ship and they do the Europe thing. I went the other way. I had a few opportunities knock on my door for that, so I took them. I enjoyed it. Lucky enough to play in England for about 3 seasons. Played in France, played in Italy, and then came back here. Was lucky enough to play Australian Sevens. Played Super Rugby, then Brazil Sevens, which is pretty cool. So I got to play for 2 countries and played a couple of test matches for Brazil, which was interesting. Yeah, wow. Mum being Brazilian, and that's probably the rugby in a nutshell. So to make a living off a sport that I wouldn't say make a living, but to get paid to do what you love is it's pretty special.
Yeah, that is bloody awesome. What were some of the biggest learnings then made from that? So in terms of a competitive spirit, companionship and mateship, training your body in a certain way, nutrition. We'll talk about, we'll deep dive into the fitness side of things shortly. But from that time in sport, were there any big takeaways that you feel like have translated to everyday life now?
Yeah, probably. I would not even at that time. It probably wouldn't have been training and nutrition, to be honest. That was kind of learnt later on in my life and through owning my business and career and a bit more self-work. Probably more the mental side of things, the mental application involved in sport and in professional sport. I think a lot of people from the outside, a lot of fans think of it as an easy, straightforward job where you go in, you throw a footy around and you run and you keep fit and you get everything given to you. And then you go on a weekend, you play a game you love and you do well, you get high five. You don't do well, you get berated. There's more the mental side of things where you had to, analyze your game. You had to try to recover well. You had to analyze the next opponent. You had to figure out what went wrong with the team, what went wrong with yourself. I guess you're constantly, as an athlete, you're constantly walking on eggshells because you're one bad game away from being on the bench, and you're 2 bad games away from not playing. And, if you have a bad day at work, if you work 9 to 5 job and you have a bad day at work, you can just go in and start again the next day. You have a bad day at work on a Friday night in front of 30,000 people. There might not be another day at work for you. So it's a tough gig. Yeah. It's a very tough gig mentally. But if you can control that, everything else kind of, looks after itself.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one, Dave. Like the idea of, I feel like it would teach you some level of awareness, like you were touching on there, of like, what did I do well? What didn't I do well? So it's almost training the mental game, but it would be very easy to kind of over-index and just get too analytical and start, like you said, walking on eggshells. And I suppose, that would be not a nice feeling if that's like an every week sort of thing. But if you can find the juice of it, of like just being aware and learning and adapting and improving, it can only be a good thing, I suppose, right?
Yeah, man. No, I think awareness is the key there. If you overanalyze, you start to think too much. And I guess a lot of coaches usually come out and say, just play your natural game. But if you can do that with, a couple of, pointers in the back of your head, then you've been in good stead. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not all, it's not all diamonds. It's rocks and diamonds. So absolutely. A little bit of both.
Yeah. Mate, I mentioned the F45 training at the top there in the intro. And look, for the listeners and viewers here, if you're not aware of Dave, he's a bloody beast. So I want to know more about your specific training in a moment, mate. But F45, a lot might be familiar, but for those that aren't, what's this type of training all about? What's the benefit of this style of training, and how do you ultimately end up owning the gym?
Mate, in terms of owning the gym, when was it? 2013. So a long time ago now. My rugby agent at the time was training at the one and only F45 in Paddington in the city, in Sydney. So it is an Australian company. A lot of people think it's American. I think it's kind of marketed as an American company. And that's kind of, I guess, might be appealing to Australians because it's not Australian. Mate, yeah, so my agent took me in, and I had a year to go on my Super Rugby contract, and they brought a new coach in, and he released 6 players. So I got a payout. So I thought I might as well put, some money to good use leading into the last couple of years of my footy career. So I went and did my first session, and I didn't want to do it, to be honest. And then at the end of the session, I said that was incredible. Absolutely love that. And then, landed at my feet and opened one in Castle Hill. We were the 3rd F45 open at the time, or in the world. I think there's 2,500 now in the world.
Wow.
So there's a lot. But mate, the concept's pretty simple. It is high intensity training. Weight stays obviously a little bit calmer. It's a time-based mechanism where you get videos of every exercise on the wall, which is aesthetic appeal. But it's a time-based method. So it just means that anyone and everyone can do it. You're not racing to a rep range. You're not racing to a certain weight. You're not trying to do as many rounds as possible, I guess, in comparison to a CrossFit. It's catered for everyone. So male, female, young, old, tall, short. My mum does six sessions a week with me.
That's amazing.
She's 62. We've got uni students. Because it's a time-based mechanism, it just allows you to work when you want to work, rest when you want to rest. Obviously to a certain degree. Otherwise, you get a little poke to hurry up and move along. But yeah, mate, it's a great concept. It's worked well. I think they've marketed it really well, and lucky enough, it's taken off from a business perspective.
So is there a certain heart rate that you're meant to be training at in terms of the high intensity style of training, or is it more just the type of exercise and the way that you're moving your body in that period of time that's the real key there?
I guess it's probably up to the studio owner, that question. So for me, I just allow my clients to move the best as they can possibly can. If you try and win the race every single day, you're going to burn out in 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. So it's probably the latter, to be honest. You move in a specific way, move well, train well, and pick your races in terms of working at a certain heart rate. And you there's days where you can push yourself, but there's other days where you just need to be consistent and tick those boxes.
So when it comes to getting in shape, then, mate, from your experience, I guess with yourself personally, and then with all the clients that you work with, what's what gets in the way of people reaching their goals? Because I think particularly fitness, it's the biggest, or it's the easiest analogy to draw to all areas of life. But most people have some sort of objective in terms of their health, or it's to lose weight, gain weight, look a certain way, feel a certain way. But not everyone reaches those goals. So from your experience, are there key things that kind of, I guess, what are the main obstacles from your experience? Is it a mental thing? Is it a, everyday life thing? What have you seen get in the way?
Mate, Instagram.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think there's a few things there. People overcomplicate things. They think everything is a weight loss tea. They think everything's a detox. They think it's a diet. It's an 8-week challenge, which F45 do 8-week challenges. But it's not what it's about. A weight loss is never linear. You're going to put on weight, you're going to lose weight, and it should be a lifestyle. It shouldn't be like a diet or anything like that. So I always tell my clients where we talk about nutrition, we talk about lifestyle. We don't talk about a diet or an 8-week plan, because it's a lifelong plan. But everything in the media, mate, like media and Instagram you see out there, and that's the best thing about these podcasts. Now there's more and more podcasts popping up, and you can kind of get insights onto how it kind of is and how it should be. You hop on Instagram, and I don't put up a bad photo. No one puts up a bad photo. I think I put up a bad photo once, actually. Funny story. I put up a reverse transformation. I was in really good shape, went to Byron Bay for 14 days. So I did it before and after. I did it before going to Byron, then after going to Byron, and people didn't even read the caption. They just thought I lost, I toned up and slimmed down. They're like, "Oh, how good's that? Can I have your training program?" I was like, "Mate, you're not reading it. You're just looking at the images." Honestly, I think people overcomplicate things. The amount of questions I get from my clients, does this work? What about this? Should I take this for weight loss? Should I take that? Sleep, drink water, eat, but eat well, good whole foods, portion your meals. Don't overeat, move every day, and have a good mindset, get some sun. Simple.
So when you mention Instagram, what I'm hearing you say, which, man, I fuck with this real hard. Like I reckon this is a really good thread to stay on. Is it the instant gratification world that we've kind of built and mindset that we've built in terms of like we expect like just quick results or like an instant fix instead of, like you said, this is a lifestyle. This is an identity shift, I suppose, that needs to take place. Rather than I'm going to bang out this, couple of weeks of training and look a certain way. It's more about, no, I'm the kind of person that trains daily or whatever that might look like. Is that kind of what you're alluding to there?
Yeah. Well, mate, 100%. So you look at it, you put a photo up on Instagram and you'll check it 1,500 times until you see how many likes you got. So that's instant gratification there. You look at a before and after photo of a client, they won't give you a time slot. They just be like before and after. And automatically your brain is programmed to look at it and go, "Oh, wow, look at that." And then look at that. It's not, "Oh, he must have ground out for, or she must have ground that out for 24 months. It's like, "Oh, I wonder how long that took that person to get there. I wonder if I could do that too." Yeah. And then they see, everyone else's lifestyle and, people at the beach and doing whatever it is they're doing. And it's just, for me, it's not I actually don't like Instagram. I have Instagram. I use it. It's fantastic for business, fantastic for connection. But if you look on mine, there is a fair bit of training, but I try and keep mine as, I guess, as real as possible with, my family and my dog and my daughter. And I just think people look for an easy way out, and Instagram's a really simple, dangerous tool in the health and fitness for people to look to see what other people are doing and then trying to adopt their same principles. Because, like, for instance, if you're doing really well at something, what you do might not work for me. Yeah. But people will look to that and go, "Oh, they're doing that. What do you eat on a daily basis? I'll try that." And then it doesn't work, then they'll blame you.
Because they're jumping around for too many different strategies, too many different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And mate, look, I'd be the first to admit that I've fallen guilty to that over the past as well, in different arenas of life, but even in fitness. I think I'm reasonably fit, got a decent tank, but I could look at you, mate, and go, "Fuck, he's jacked," and then go to the gym twice next week and not look like that, and go, "Well, fuck, what's going on here? What's the point? Let me look at the next thing." So I reckon that is a big problem in today's society for a lot of areas of life, but particularly trying to work towards our fitness goals, which leads me to my next one, mate. Just on goals, how important is it to have something specific that you're working towards? Like, I know there is obviously the endorphin rush that comes from training, and I'm sure you'd agree that's a large part of why I train now. But for people that are, where they're trying to gain weight, lose weight, again, whatever their objective is it the lack of clarity? Like, particularly if they haven't built the lifestyle around actually falling in love with the process yet, are there people that kind of come in and kind of don't really know, what they're doing it for, I suppose? And maybe it is just as simple as, hey, I just want to feel good. But they're not having connected to that reason.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people do it for different reasons, and that's why I really love the business that I'm in. Is that I've got clients that will train Monday to Friday so they can drink on a weekend. And I'm like, if that's your sole reason, then that's perfect. You've got a good reason to come in and you're enjoying yourself. I've got people that come in that they want to put on weight, they want to lose weight, they want to get stronger, but still some of the methods behind it, or some of the mental, I wouldn't say mental aspects, more of like what they think needs to be done. It's not quite right.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Like, you'll come in, we'll do a weights class, and they'll grab the heaviest weight possible, but you're doing 4 sets of something. Say you're working for 35 seconds, resting for 25, but because they've chosen a heavy weight, they're only getting 20 seconds of workout. Well, what's the point? You're losing technique, you're losing form, you're losing focus. You might as well deload a little bit, go lighter. It's not good for the ego, but you'll get results in a better way.
Yeah.
But most people do have most people for me should have a reason for training, whether it be to be competitive, whether it to be, drinking on the weekend, just to maintain your healthy lifestyle. I think everyone that trains, like you said, it releases endorphins. You feel crap load better, even though you hate life at that time. I hate life when I train. I bloody hate it. But when I'm done, I'm like, I feel a crap load better.
Yeah.
It gets me, in a better mindset throughout the day, better mental clarity. I can eat more. Food digests better. If I don't train, I don't eat enough, so my energy levels are lower. But you should have a reason, whether it's a goal. I find sometimes if a client has a goal, when they hit that goal, they don't know where to go. So they get stuck. It's like, I've lost 8 kilos. Sweet. What do I do now? Okay, well, now we have to kind of reassess, and because it's not an individualized program, it's hard to manage, 200, 300 clients.
Yeah.
And go, all right, we're going to reassess your goals. As soon as someone hits a goal, it's hard to be like, all right, sweet. I've got my goal. I'm going to go on a bender for 3 weeks and they'll be back to square one. So it kind of should be training for a reason, not for a goal, unless you're training to compete at something.
So then why do you train so hard? Is there,
yeah, mate. Well, good question. Probably a few things. DNA. So I was lucky enough to, my family's a stupidly competitive family. My grandfather played cricket for Australia. Cousin played AFL for St Kilda. I had 2 other cousins played softball, netball for Australia.
Wow.
I was lucky enough to play professional rugby, and I think it's just in my DNA. So that's one of my reasons. I'm bloody competitive and I like it. Secondly, mate, I like to compete. So I'm actually trying to qualify for the CrossFit Games. I've only been doing CrossFit for about a year and 3 months at the moment. Most people do it for 5, 6 to 10 years. So I'm trying to qualify for that. Masters, of course. But that's a challenge, and learning new skills. And I do it to learn new stuff. So I'm relearning movements. I'm relearning skills that I haven't done. Like I wouldn't have squatted or deadlift for, since my footy days. Power clean and snatch, I would have done hardly anything like that. And I'm learning new skills and new movements. And I find it really rewarding when you can nail something, that you've been working on for 4 to 6 months, and you can get that movement. It's a bit like, starting a model plane or a puzzle, and you get to that finish line. Like, sweet, how good was that? It's rewarding. Let's go again.
Yeah, dude, you're talking my language, man. That's a big theme on this program that I share a lot with just myself or different guests, that idea of just falling in love with learning. There's something intrinsically rewarding about it. And I reckon if you can get to a place where that becomes the norm, where you like learning new things and you get the rewards along the way, man, you set yourself up for a pretty good life in my book anyway.
Yeah, no, and it goes with everything. So not just training. If you can never have enough knowledge and content about nutrition, about food, about lifestyle, about the world. The world is not what it seems. That's maybe for another podcast.
Yeah.
But mate,
we'll
yeah,
get a bottle of red and we'll riff on different ideas. Yeah,
mate, we'll do that. We'll do that. But yeah, it's not what it's. There's a lot of learning to be done, and I guess if you keep living in your little bubble, you're not going to really extend yourself.
Yeah, I like it. You touched on nutrition there. How important is nutrition? It sounds like a very trite question, but I know people that just seem to just train and then they're just pretty lackluster with the nutrition. But they, from afar anyway, seems like they're doing okay. But then I know for me personally, the way I feel, my training capabilities is largely determined by what I put in my body. So from your experience, is there kind of a right or wrong approach to what we put in our body?
There should be only a right approach, and that should just be eating well all the time.
I agree.
Yeah, none of this. I wouldn't say I despise. I just don't agree with. Okay, you got to hit macros. Let's go have a pizza to catch up on your macros, stuff like that. Because you're losing the micronutrients of your food. You're losing all your vitamins. You're losing all the good minerals. You're losing all the great properties that food can give you. The right approach should be nice, whole foods, good cut meats, from my perspective, crap load of veggies, good quality carbs in and around training is probably the easiest way to do it for everyone. Like, you could look at a carb and you could put on 10 kilos, and I could look at a carb and I could lose 10 kilos.
Mate, that's not me. Have you not seen these flaily arms? I mean,
there you go. You can eat as much as you want.
I have about 7 sweet potatoes a day and I'm still can't put
yeah, sweet mate, up it to 10. I guess there's only one approach, and that's just eating well, eating consistently. Like, yeah, if you go off track, a lot of it's mental. So just let it go and restart. It's what people do the following day and the next day and the next day. You're not going to put on 10 kilos by having, a Christmas feast on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You're going to do it by doing a Boxing Day, the 27th, 28th, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and every weekend after that.
You mentioned eating in and around training. It's something that I remember. I grew up playing footy and made that a priority. But I feel like in my adult years, I've sort of been, I don't know, just a little bit more, haven't prioritized that as much. And admittedly, I haven't been training as hard until very recently. So is there, what are some best practices, I suppose? Is there a window of time, either before training or after training, that has the most benefit? Is that a thing? Is that an old wives' tale? How much truth is there to having that window of time to optimize nutrition, sort of, pre or post training?
I think a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I don't think it has too much effect on, say, aesthetics or your fitness goals. I bet what it does, it allows you to understand what your body might need and when. So that's kind of where the benefit comes from in my eyes. So, for example, if I'm training, I ate a crap load yesterday and Christmas Day, which you're supposed to. So when I trained this morning, just now before we jumped on this cast, I didn't eat. So I just trained on last night's fuel.
Yeah.
So I'll take that fuel into today. Whereas if I was training, say I go train this afternoon, then I'll probably increase my carb content at lunch, just to help me with a little bit more fuel. Post-training, however, I usually straight away just have 3-4 bits of fruit. If there's no window for me to have lunch, dinner, or breakfast, I'll then have a protein shake. Or alternatively, if it's around lunchtime, I won't have the shake and I'll just use my food as my recovery source of my protein and carbs. And I tell my clients the best way to do it is if you want to eat before training, that's totally up to you. Everyone has, a different little agenda. But if there's an hour and a half window before you're going to train, have something to eat. And then afterwards, you can afford to, eat your carb content, especially at night. So if your clients train at night, have more carbs at dinner. If you train in the morning, have more carbs at breakfast and then taper off them. Then they're good for you, but it's just always comes down to how much you eat of it. Yeah,
definitely. I've got a few more for you and then I'll let you wrap up, mate. But just want to touch on supplements. So we're talking about food, obviously, here. What are your thoughts on sups? Are they needed? Are there some better than others? If so, what are the best, almost 101 kit for someone who wants to really take their trainings and just well-being seriously?
Okay. So, do not go into a nutrition warehouse. So nutrition warehouse, do not go into any Vitamin Kings or anything like that, mate. They'll try and sell you everything. You don't need anything. The only thing you need in life, protein. If for me anyway, this is what I take. So I just take protein. It's just an easy way to get protein source into my body. And as I just mentioned before, if I don't have time to eat a meal, I'll have a shake. Plus, it kind of tastes pretty cool, so you can mix it up. I take protein, I take creatine on my big day. So if I'm doing like a double day, or if I try and sip on it throughout a session. Some amino acids, so BCAAs, which is rarely, but you don't even need it unless if you're eating enough meat. You're eating, carrots and olives, funny enough, and an apple. You can get so do I. They're fantastic. You can get a little bit through there. Magnesium, B12, because your body can't hold on to B12, so it's really important to get B12 for energy stores. Mate, that is it. So four main supplements. Vitamin C, obviously. Yeah. If you go buy a multivitamin, for me, it's an expensive trip to the bathroom. You just end up pissing it all out. You can get all your content from good rotating your veggies, eating different veggies, eating different quality meats. You can get everything from that. I just feel a lot of people look for the supplement industry. For me, is like a shortcut.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, sweet. There's a weight loss tea for this, and there's a shredding, oxy shred or whatever. It's going to make you shredded. No, it's not. Going to the gym is going to make you shredded whilst having a good balanced diet and eating enough or just under the recommended food intake. So in terms of supplements, proteins, magnesium, potentially creatine and BCAAs, depending on how big your training program is.
Yeah.
Magnesium for recovery and sleep. And mate, that's about it. And a drop or two of CBD oil and you're good to go.
I like it, mate. So then just on sleep, how important is that? And what are some best practices? We're talking off air, and even just in the weeks that we've got to know each other, how important sleep can be. So for you, is there like a set bedtime? Is there a routine? Is that something that people listening should be really prioritizing if they're not already?
Yeah, I think so. I was watching the CrossFit Games this year, and a couple of athletes were saying that during the 3 or 4 days, if they did not have time to do an ice bath, to do a sauna, to stretch and roll, because bedtime's approaching, they will prioritize sleep over any other form of recovery, which is quite interesting. Mate, it's essential. It's a be all and end all. What I found, and especially like through the Whoop and on the recovery scores and really focusing on sleep, which I never did. It's more so my effort levels, my training levels, my mood, my clarity at work in the morning, my clarity at work in the afternoon, and the effect it plays on, I guess, being a dad and stuff like that, where they can sustain my mental application with our daughter who's 3.5. And sleep's essential. We talked off air about, going to bed at the same time and waking at the same time. Your body gets into a nice little rhythm. It's a bit like food. If you can kind of eat at the same times each day, your body will learn to be hungry at those times, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's the same with sleep, mate. It's essential. In terms of like a routine, it's pretty hard because I know what to do, but sometimes I just don't do it as much as I like. But blue light blockers are fantastic. So you got I'm pretty sure you.
I wear them every night.
You wear them every night. Yeah.
Pretty much 7 o'clock onwards for me. If I'm watching a movie or if I'm doing some work or whatever, I just chuck them on.
Yeah. Because when we do our calls on Wednesday nights, I'm pretty sure you've had them on, and
mate,
a few of the boys have got them on. I love them. That they do work. Little things like that. No devices unless you got your blue light blockers on. Nice little wind down time and get my magnesium on and a bit of CBD before I go to sleep and little things like that. I like to be in bed by a certain time. But I know if I miss that window, it plays a big effect. Really big effect.
I would say that for me personally, and I think for most people, particularly as you get like a little bit older, like 25 plus, sleep is just like, it is crazy how much of a variable it can be in terms of my performance, how I feel, just everyday enjoyment, really. I'm glad we got to that. For you, this is one I didn't have prepared, mate. I'm just curious because we're talking about mental clarity and particularly lasting throughout the day. Do you drink coffee?
Yeah, a lot.
You do? You do? Okay. Any thoughts around that? Like good, bad, or just depends on how your body takes it? Yeah.
It depends on how your body takes it. Like, for instance, a lot of people, don't take coffee. Look, it's fantastic. It can delay fatigue, increase performance, but obviously spikes cortisol levels. for someone that has, for instance, my wife has chronic fatigue, like coffee's not what she needs to be taking.
Yeah.
People think, oh, take coffee. You hope it'll have the opposite effect. I have no qualms with coffee. It solely comes down to how much one's body can tolerate it. If you're using coffee to go to the bathroom, you're using it for the wrong reasons. You shouldn't be using coffee to get you out of a slump. Yep. So if you're tired, you shouldn't go, I need 5 coffees today. No, you need a crap load of water, a little bit of rest, and good food.
Yeah.
So for me, I use coffee as an enjoyment. So every morning I wake up and I'll make my coffee. Actually got a epic little pour over kit for Christmas. So that's all set up, ready to go in our laundry. I use it for enjoyment. So I sit down, I'll take one on the way to work. I'll come back from work in the morning, have brekkie with the family, and then I'll sit down and enjoy my coffee for 5-10 minutes and just sit on the couch and really take it. It's more of a mental thing for me, a mental and taste. If you're using it for digestive reasons or energy reasons, then you probably need to reevaluate a little bit.
Well said, mate. Yeah, I agree. It's really, I try and it's almost like a mindfulness practice for me now. It's just really enjoy my treat almost. I do my meditation, do my workout, whatever it might be in the morning. It could even just be post, might have an hour of work that I'm not looking forward to. I'll get it done. And then I can just really, really enjoy my coffee. And I find that helps. Yeah, mate. I absolutely love it. It's my wife's like, that we got an hour and a bit before I got to go to work. I'm like, just give me 5-10 minutes with my coffee and then I'll be good to go for another hour. 100%. I like it. That's what it's about. Before I let you go, mate, I touched on obviously the F45 training experience and owning the gym there. If I'm not mistaken, Mark Walburg is pretty heavily involved. I don't know the exact connection there, but I just wanted to pick your brain, a little quick anecdote before you wrap up, mate. I know you got the chance to meet him. How'd that come about and what was that experience like? Mate, so we had a dinner probably about 2 weeks ago now. There was I guess, end of year celebration for what's been a very bizarre year for everyone in the world. And especially, I guess, gym owners, I wouldn't say more so, but gym owners was an interesting area. I think a lot of other people were in a much, much worse spot than what myself, than what we were. Very, very, very frustrating for everyone and very, very sad at the same time. But we were lucky enough to be invited to dinner. I think it's about 60 of us, and him being in Sydney. Just went out to dinner. I said to my wife, do you want to go? And we're nearly 39 week pregnant now. Well, 39 weeks tomorrow, I think. So due very, very soon. But mate, I said, do you want to go along? She's like, I'll get for tea. I was like, we'll just get an Uber home early. So we didn't. So we decided to come in, had a good chat to him. Absolute legend of a human. Really, really lovely guy. I'm a big Boston fan, and he's a Boston fan. So that was my angle, straight in there and chat about the Celtics and New England. And mate, he was lovely. He asked Cassie how she was doing, and I think she was the only one that got a personal goodbye out of the dinner as he was leaving the building. And then I was lucky enough to train with him on Tuesday, so I know the owners of F45 Woolloomooloo quite well. So I got a little invite to that, just had a little training session, met him there, and it was pretty cool actually because he walked in the building and he kind of just waved to everyone, and that's it. And then he saw me in the middle and came over and gave me a little knuckle crunch, and we had a little chat one-on-one, and the best thing out of that was not like everyone going, oh my God, like how does he know him? And it was more like his first words were, besides saying, yeah, how you doing? He was like, how's Cassie doing? How's her last few days been going? Tell her I said hello, best of luck. I was like, mate, true family, man. As there's a lot of idiots out there in the world. There's a lot of perceived, I guess, sportsmen and athletes who do have, arrogance issues and issues with, mingling with the public. But the man was absolute legend. That is so cool. Mate, you sound like a pretty cool, calm, collected kind of guy. I reckon I would have fanboyed out hard, it's good that you got to connect with him though, mate. Yeah, I feel like we could riff on ideas for hours, mate. I feel like I'll leave it there. We've got tons of stuff to work with in terms of exercise, nutrition, sleep. Before we do, mate, any final tips in terms of optimizing, whether it's the physical or the mental, for people tuning in? I reckon just keep it as simple as possible. Everyone overcomplicates everything. Sleep, drink your water, eat well, eat good whole foods, good cut meats, learn to meditate, which is what we're doing, and write shit down.
That's probably the biggest thing. I find I train better, and I'm focused more when I write stuff down and get stuff out of my head. The simpler you look at things, and the most simplistic versions would be the easiest way forward in life, I reckon.
Yeah, man. Clarity is power, and keep it simple makes it easy. It makes a big difference. Well, appreciate you carving out the time, Dave. Been awesome to connect, mate. And I hope we'll get you back on in the new year, mate. We'll talk more. We'll go into that philosophical conversation next time.
Mate, yeah, I'm in.